Hey guys, welcome in. In this video, I am going to be ranking piano concertos. What's going to happen is I'm going to spin this wheel and select a random piano concerto and then go over here and put it into the tier list, either in the royalty tier, platinum, gold, or silver. Being closer to the top is better in case that wasn't obvious. Now you might notice that I have no negative tiers, and that's because we're ranking piano concertos, some of the greatest pieces ever written. So the pieces I selected for the wheel are all pieces that I love. I'm just going to be telling you which pieces I love a lot and which pieces I love a lot. All right, let's see what we are ranking first, and we have Beethoven Number 3. The third concerto is the one I often recommend to people who say, I've never listened to a concerto before, especially if they're kind of a fan of like Mozart, Beethoven already. I say go listen to Beethoven 3 first, because not only is it just an amazing piece with so many cool techniques, it also is a really easy first listen because it's such an audience pleaser as well. It's not like weird and mysterious. You have to kind of like get into the zone. I think it just right off the bat is super exciting. I could literally listen to that piece any day of the week. I think it's incredible. So, all right, next up we have Mozart 23. This is such a cool concerto with that returning theme throughout the first movement being just so incredibly exciting. By the way, Mozart was the hardest composer to choose which of his concertos go onto the list. I just basically asked my audience in a poll, like, what pieces do you want to see? And I picked the Mozart concertos that were most requested because it's all over the place. Some people are like, you gotta do 7, you gotta do 11, you gotta do 12, you gotta do 15, 16, 17. I can't make a list. Well, I could make a list of only Mozart concertos, I suppose, but that would kind of be a little overwhelming for a list like this today. So Mozart number 23 in A major is going to go into the gold tier. It is a great, great listen. Up next, we are going to be ranking Chopin. That's close. Chopin in F minor. Little inside information, if you haven't seen my top 10 composers list, Chopin ranks extremely high. I'm going to put in the silver tier. I like other concertos more, but as I said, every single concerto in this list I really like. I just like many other things on the list more. All right, let's keep going. Up next, we have Prokofiev One. Now, Prokofiev is kind of like Mozart in that if you ask people what their favorite Prokofiev concerto is, kind of like favorite sonata, you get a lot of different answers. I personally love the first one, probably because of personal experience of hearing it in person. I just said the word person way too many times in that sentence. My face just got blown off for 10 straight minutes. So it is a really, really, really cool piece. I'm between gold and platinum on this one, actually. I haven't had a tough decision yet, but this one is kind of hard. Like, I really like it. Is it platinum? I'm going to put it in gold. I mean, it's gold. I'm saying it's a golden piece. I think it's amazing. I don't think it quite goes into that like breathtaking platinum category for me, but gold is still really, really good. So let's see who we have next. Ravel's left-hand piano concerto. Okay, this piece is really cool. Obviously, it's cool that you can do it all with your left hand, and you can even use your right hand to turn pages if you don't want to memorize it. And it's somewhat acceptable to do that in concerts because, you know, your right hand's technically free. Or someday I want to see someone confident enough, and maybe this has been done, but pretty much everyone just plays with their left hand. I want to learn the piece and just perform it with both hands. Just don't even tell the conductor I'm doing it till like I show up the day before, and they're just like, "Oh, what are you doing? We got you for the left-hand piano concerto." I'm like, "Right. I'm going to play better than everyone else because I'm going to do it with two hands." So this one's cool. Little spoiler alert, I like the other Ravel concerto even more, which will show up later in this list, but I do really like the left-hand piano concerto, so it definitely makes the list. I'm going to put it in the silver tier. All right, let us carry on. Up next, we have Mozart 20. In my mind, this is the height of the Mozart concertos. It's really cool. I love it when Mozart writes big pieces in minor keys. I tend to think he's like, even though he typically writes in major, he's really, really good at writing in minor as well when he does that. So I want to stick this into the platinum tier. All right, we are doing well. Up next, we have Ravel's Concerto in G. Ravel's G major concerto is another piece that I remember I didn't really know a lot about. I mean, this has been like 10 years, more than 10 years ago now. I didn't know a lot about. Then I saw it performed live and I was just like, whoa. It was just like nonstop amazing. It's like, I just like, oh, that's cool. And that's cool. And that's exciting. And that's fast. And that's cool. And that's cool. So this is a really, really good piece. Oh, it might be strong enough to go into the royalty. No, I'm not going to put it above Beethoven 3. It's probably actually slightly below Beethoven 3 in my mind, so I'm going to put it in the platinum tier. But we still haven't had anything quite break into that platinum tier. And up next we have Rachmaninoff 3, a piece that many of you would probably have in your best of the best, greatest piece ever written tier. I'm going to put it in platinum. We haven't had our first royalty, though I know some in there are definitely royalty, but this is an amazing piece. You literally can't go wrong with the Rachmaninoff Concerto. Really any of them, but the second and third ones are just about the gold standard, or I should say the platinum standard of piano concertos. Okay, up next we have right on cue, we have Rachmaninoff's second. And this piece will definitely be my first royalty tier. As I said, I love every one of these pieces so much. I think they are just incredible, incredible pieces, but I do love some more than others. And some of them just have this really, really special place where I have listened to this Rachmaninoff concerto multiple times and cried. Multiple times and cried. I've at least been emotional multiple times. I don't know, multiple instances of actual tears forming, but something that I can listen to. I can listen to it again right now and just sit here and drool and be mesmerized by the builds and the sounds and the swells and the deep notes in the orchestra and everything. I love you, Rock 2. As I said earlier, Rock 3 being platinum is no diss on Rock 3. All the platinum tiers I love these pieces, but this one is special to me. It just makes me so happy to listen to. It's just a great piece. Okay, calm down. Let's go on to the next piece. Up next we have Beethoven 5, back-to-back royalty. And every single time I get to about 16, 18 minutes into the first movement, it's really long in case you didn't know, but about 16, 18 minutes into the first movement, great build. I'll just try to play it for you. Here, listen. When you get to this moment, I actually do get a little sad because I'm like, I don't want it to end. Like, I have been thoroughly enjoying all the builds, all the creepy kind of wandering stuff the piano does in the middle, just all the epicness, and I enjoy it so much. Every time I hear this chord, I'm like, oh, it's about to end. I don't want it to end. I want this first movement to go on for like 10 more minutes. I mean, it probably shouldn't, but I want it to go on for 10 more minutes. And then obviously the other movements are all really good too. The middle movement is one of the most gorgeous things Beethoven ever wrote. So easy royalty tier for me. I knew when I made this list that it would be an easy pick for the very top. Hey guys, if you're enjoying the video, please take just a quick second to like, comment down below, consider sharing it with some friends. As I always say, these tier lists are a lot of work to put together. They're fun. They often see a bigger crowd of people, so they are fun to do. I just really appreciate all the help sharing it as much as possible to make the extra effort worth it. All right, we are over halfway there. Up next, we have Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto. It's going to seem like I don't like it coming off the heels of Rock 2 and Beethoven 5, like probably two of my favorite pieces almost that exist in the world. Piano concertos, by the way, are one of the best genres. As I said at the beginning of the video, a piano concerto, you have these composers who are great orchestral composers and they're great piano composers, and they just put the two together and they seem to put their best workings. They know they're special pieces. So Tchaikovsky is definitely going to gold tier. This is a really cool piece. I think it's a very, very well organized piece. It doesn't quite have the emotional effect as the Rachmaninoff and the Beethoven we just talked about. So again, it seems like a drop off after those two back to back. Anything that came after those two basically be a drop off, but still a great piece. So up next we have Grieg Piano Concerto. This one's cool. When I played this piece, I just thought it is the greatest piece ever. My teacher was like, well, there was a time this was considered one of the greatest concertos ever, and it was one of the most programmed pieces ever. Then I played it, and I was like, well, yeah, because it's one of the best pieces ever. I think a lot of people think about how cool the beginning of the piece is. I would say it's more about that cadenza in the first movement, the amazing second theme in the first movement, and then especially the last movement, the amazing second theme in that. When he writes melodies, I just think he has the ability to write melodies as good as anyone else. Is that a bad statement to make? He didn't write near as many melodies as so many composers, so it's hard to compare. But when you get a good melody by Grieg, it's just amazing. Oh, but I forgot to rank it. So part of me wants to put Grieg in the gold tier because it's one of these pieces that in the piano concerto space is kind of like Für Elise or Rondo alla Turca in the solo piano space, where it's just so overplayed. We just hear it so much. And everyone's like, yeah, that's a popular piece and a good piece. But I don't want to knock it for that. I think it actually deserves it. It is really, really an amazing piece. Now, there are some other pieces that you hear less often, so they're fun to hear because you don't hear them as much. But I think it definitely deserves platinum. I'm putting this one in platinum tier. Oops. No shame at all. Grieg Piano Concerto, second to the top tier. All right, up next, we have Schumann's Piano Concerto. Okay, so Schumann's Concerto is kind of a weird one for me because in some ways when I listen to the orchestration, I listen to the way the piano just sounds, I feel it's better than Grieg. But I just don't tend to like the melodies quite as much. I like the moments more, but I like the melodies probably a little less. So it's a really tough decision. I probably would enjoy listening to Grieg slightly more than Schumann, even though part of me deep down inside feels like the Schumann maybe is a slightly better composed piece, maybe, but either way, they're both amazing. That's why they're on the list. I'm going to put Schumann in the gold tier. I think it's just a really, really, really cool piece. If you don't know, like one of these things kind of like the Grieg where we tend to know the first movement, then people know less and less of it. Give the whole thing a listen, or if you don't have time, give the third movement, the last movement, a listen sometime because it is super, super cool what it does. All right, we're getting down to just a few pieces left, and up next we have Bartok's Third Concerto. I recognize there are multiple Bartoks that can make the list, but this is my favorite of them. I'm going to put this one in the gold tier. I really, really like the Bartok's Third Piano Concerto. I think it's a very unique sound, obviously compared to lots of the other concertos on the list. If you can't tell by this point, I'm a little bit more of a fan of the classical romantic eras than the later eras, but I think this Bartok is an incredible, incredible piece that definitely deserves the gold tier. Okay, we're down to 5 left, and we have Brahms' First Concerto in D minor. Interesting fact about Brahms, he didn't get around to finishing his first symphony for a really, really long time. Actually, some people talk about that as being one of the great tragedies, travesties of classical music. However, us piano players know that Brahms actually wrote a couple symphonies earlier in his life. They just have a piano and they're called piano concertos. Maybe he felt a little safer in that space because there's the piano part as well. And younger in his career, he did write primarily piano pieces. You have to have a great conductor, great orchestra, great piano player to really pull it all together. I'm going to put in the platinum tier. You really can't go wrong. Brahms is one of the best orchestral composers ever to walk the planet, also one of the best piano composers ever to walk the planet. So it's kind of like when Beethoven writes a concerto. You put those two things together, you just get awesomeness. Now we are down to only 4 pieces left. And interestingly enough, I think there's one in each tier. So we will have to see what that is. Beethoven 4. All right. Beethoven 4 is a crazy, awesome, uniquely beautiful, amazing, awesome, beautiful piece of music. comparing it to the third and the fifth concertos that more like smack you in the mouth at the beginning, it's just such a different experience. So if you haven't ever heard Beethoven's 4, you got to give it a listen. I'm going to stick it into the platinum tier because I do like the fifth one more. So we're going to put it right there in platinum, Beethoven 4. All right, with 3 to go, we have Rhapsody in Blue by Gershwin, the only one on the list not called concerto. So I really wanted to include Gershwin, but I do like Rhapsody in Blue a lot more than his piano concertos. If you're not familiar with it at all, Rhapsody in Blue is kind of like classical piano meets jazzy styles. Cool piece. Go check it out. I think it's awesome. Love it. In the gold tier. All right, 2 pieces left. Chopin E minor. I have almost all the same thoughts as the first concerto we looked at, and it's cool. It's like Chopin accompanied by an orchestra. It doesn't make it to the higher tiers in my mind because it's more of a piano accompanied by an orchestra rather than a super intricate back and forth battle with the piano and the orchestra. But it's still a cool piece. If you love Chopin, you probably will love them because there's really nothing not to like about them. They are super cool pieces. So Chopin E minor piano concerto in the silver tier. And for our final piece, let's spin for no reason at all. We have Brahms Number Two, B flat major concerto. Okay. This is funny. It took so long to get to this point, but I knew also when I made this list that this piece would have to be in the very top tier. I think even more so than the first concerto, I feel like this concerto, Brahms just masters texture. I mean, Brahms is already a master of piano texture, but he just really, really masters like all the cool patterns and configurations a pianist has to play, and somehow they pop out of the orchestra part. Like often what happens in this case is you can't hear the intricate things pianists are doing over the orchestra, but Brahms is just so good at orchestration, at clearing out space for the piano when he wants space for the piano. So this is a cool piece. It's Brahms. It's one of my favorite. Definitely makes the royalty tier. It's one of my favorite concertos ever written. Looking at the list now that everything's kind of in place, I'm pretty happy with how everything fell. Part of me is like, I could totally move up Beethoven 3 to the royalty tier because it's an amazing piece. I could totally move up Rachmaninoff 3. I could move up Brahms D minor. All those I could easily put in the royalty tier. However, those 3 pieces, Rock 2, Beethoven 5, Brahms 2, they're my favorites. Like if I was just like, I want to listen to my favorite concerto, I would search for one of those 3 pieces. So I'm fine with them kind of being in a category of their own. Right below that, it actually makes sense that all those pieces are there because it's a big category, but it would be really difficult, honestly, for me to choose one of those platinum tier ones to be definitively my 4th favorite. I definitely have a favorite 3. Then after that, I'm looking at that next tier. It's like, oh, those are my favorites, except the top 3. And then after that, all the other pieces on this list are all great to listen to. And there's even more amazing piano concertos that didn't make the video today. I try to choose a good number, so it's a good chunk, good length video, but I can't include everything. I'm not going to rank like 200. I could, I guess, rank 200 concertos one video, but thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, take a second. I'd really appreciate it if you shared it with some friends. Like the video down below. Try to help me share it to a lot of people just so it sees more eyes and is worth all the editing I'm about to do right now. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.